If your lobes are a-tingling, it must be Thursday, and if it's Thursday, that's gotta mean...
It's time for Audio Hoo-Mons.
Dude, I'm Alex. This is...
Brian.
And we are your...
We're your Hoo-Mons
therapists.
Practitioners. Yes. So just relax your lobes and lean in.
Yeah, try to think of us as Hoo-Mons surrogates. If you can't get the Hoo-Mons at home,
just have a listen.
I thought, Brian, that we should do is try to do the audio channels where, like, I'm in the right ear and you're in the left, and people can really get the Hoo-Mons experience.
Oh, that would be great. Like, except like for me, I've got a set of headphones where one ear, one speaker, goes in and out, and it would completely ruin the experience.
Or would it?
Or would it? It depends on which speaker it was. Okay, we digress already.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to be back, and if you're hot on the heels of our first 2 episodes of Season 2 of Audio Hoo-Mons, where we discussed the first 3 episodes of Season 2 of Deep Space Nine. That's a riddle and a conundrum and a mouthful. How you feeling about it? I'm just going to stop for a moment, folks, and ask Brian, before I ask Brian, because my mind does not work in the right order. Remember, the premise of the show here for Audio Hoo-Mons is that Brian is a Trek fan, but he's not necessarily a DS9 fan, not because he doesn't like it, it's because he was at a time in his life when it was on that he just couldn't watch it very often. So he has very little recollection or emotional investment in the show, whereas I absolutely
am a walking encyclopedia.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that, but yeah, but I love this show. It's my favorite Star Trek. So Brian and I kind of look at it through the eyes of a newbie and the eyes of someone who loves it. And yeah, I mean, you've seen many of these episodes multiple times. So I was going to stop just for a moment, though, and ask you, Brian, now that we're back, and, I do not intend to, keep doing this every show and go, so, right. We started the show in 2017.
Today?
Yeah, and we did the show for a year, and then we quit for a year, and now we're back. But how are you feeling about it so far?
Good. I do like the new format.
Yeah.
That, we had a tendency to maybe get lost in some of the minutia and get away from some of the themes or how we felt about the episode or what our unique take might be on the episode. So this format allows us to really focus on those things, the things that made an impression on us, as opposed to trying to regurgitate the scene by scene action, which I think most of our listeners either recently watched or will rewatch the episode, or will have the episode so memorized that any play-by-play that we could offer it is not as meaningful and as impactful as maybe, again, that interaction that we have and the insights that we gain from my new watching and your rewatching of the episode.
I think that's it. It's kind of fun because we keep the clock ticking and we try to make it as meaningful as possible in the amount of time. We're trying to keep the shows between 20 and 30 minutes each. So far, so good. We're going to shoot to do that on this episode. So without further ado on that, I was going to say, though, a couple of housekeeping things, and there's some more housekeeping at the end of the show. You can hear all that then. There's a great channel called What Pods, and that's just What Pod, WHAT Pod. If you will go on What Pod and look up Audio Hoo-Mons and endorse us, all you have to do is just hit. It's easier than doing a iTunes review, which I know is still challenging to a lot of people, apparently. But but go on What Pods and endorse us there, please. That'll help other people find the show. And as I mentioned, the review on iTunes, on Apple Podcasts, is crucial. This is a show that's a niche, and there's plenty of other Star Trek things out there. And if we want to get noticed, we got to get the reviews. That's how the algorithms work. Right. So what's the Tranya tonight, my friend?
I'm having a mule. I've got a Bundaberg ginger beer from Australia and added a little Tito's, a little lime juice, a little ice, and ready to go.
Nice. I'm taking it easy after a pretty raucous Trek Patty's Day, where, by the way, we created the hashtag Trek Patty's Day, which got a little traction. Maybe next year we'll have more. I'm just having just a couple of fingers of scotch tonight. I'm taking it easy. Yeah, just taking it easy tonight. And
very good.
Yeah, I'm on training. I'm going to run a half marathon in about a month, and I got to slow down a little bit on the booze. So
good luck with that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, one more thing, and then we're going to get to the episode and get on going.
Yes.
The Facebook page, Audio Hoo-Mons Podcast, it's at Audio Hoo-Mons on Facebook. It's easy to find, just facebook.com/Audio Hoo-Mons. We have, at this recording, 41 followers, and this page has been up for barely a week.
Yeah, it's impressive. I'm very excited, and I was mentioned to you, between the two of us, I think we can come up with maybe some sort of incentive to keep the word going out, get more followers, and maybe do some sort of a giveaway of a piece of Trek merch or memorabilia that we may have accumulated over our last few years, something we might be able to give away. So I'm going to look through my little basket of goodies and see if I can find something. The thought is that we've discussed, when we get to 100 followers, maybe we give something away. And I don't know if we want to give it to the 100th follower or to give it to the people that are following right now, that are forwarding these, liking the page, forwarding it on, and recommending us to their friends. So.
We might want to, it might take some time to figure out who's done the most sharing and forwarding and all that stuff. So maybe what we'll do is we might get the 100 followers and do a random number generator. We'll assign a number to everybody, and we'll pick a number, and they'll win one prize, and then maybe this one. The other prize would be like, finding somebody who's just been really good at spreading the word. I can already think of a couple of folks right now who've been really good. But so I'll tell you what, we're going to keep an eye out for that. So when we get to 100 followers, and who knows, by the time you hear this, we might be at 100 followers. And
correct.
And what we'll do is we'll assume that if you're on the Facebook page where everybody can see you, that it's okay to read your name, and we're going to do that. If you have a problem with that, you need to tell us on Facebook as soon as you can.
Or we may DM. Advance.
Well, no, we're just saying, though, that, like, Jeffrey J, who's on the Facebook page, so people can go look up whoever Jeffrey, last name J, is. Anyway, but we would say, you've won, and then we'll DM you, and you give us your home address, and we'll mail you a little present. Now, we should be really clear on this, that it could just be, it could be like a really, hang on a minute, what do I got here on my desk? It could be a corny Chinese knockoff of a communicator from the original series. It could be an autographed picture that you might find valuable from a Trekker actor. It could be an old paperback of a Trek novel, but it'll be something. And I should also say that we here at the home office are happy to receive your cast-off Trek items. If you're like, I'm trying to get rid of Trek items, and you want to send them to us, we can make sure they find a good home. So just send them. You ready for this? And we'll put this in the show notes. Send your Star Trek cast-off stuff where it's like your wife or your husband or whomever has finally said, get that crap out of the basement. Send it to us, and we'll find it a good home. Here we go. AGPR, P.O. Box. That's the AGPR is the post office box name, the holder. That's our holding company from the home office. It's AGPR, P.O. Box 902119, Kansas City, Missouri 64190. Send it to the P.O. Box. Also send your fan mail, cash, dirty jokes, old episodes of Star Trek on VHS, Hustler, Penthouse, whatever you got. And we'll put the address on the Facebook page and the show notes. What do you think of that there, Brian? Yeah,
that's great.
Can you just wait to see what we get from people?
It could be interesting.
It could be great. Now, please, folks, don't put anything too. It's fine, but just don't put anything that's going to get you arrested or give me a heart attack when I open it. But looking forward to seeing it. So if you got some Trek stuff in particular and you want to get rid of it, we'll also feature it on the Facebook page, which that and alone could be a hoot. But so anyway, we got it coming and going, is what we're saying. All right. I think we should probably get to some invasive procedures, shouldn't we? I'll hand this over to you, my friend.
We should. So this is Season 2, Episode 4. The episode is called Invasive Procedures, as Alex mentioned. When we join, there's a huge storm a brewing on the space station DS9, so they have to clear virtually everyone off the station. So I don't know how they were able to accomplish that, because 2 episodes earlier they had difficulty getting everyone off when there was a real emergency.
They had 2 little shuttles, but they managed to get them all off.
So, okay, suspend disbelief. The storm's coming, and all that's left is a skeleton crew.
That beats a crew of skeletons, I guess.
Correct.
Pirates of the Caribbean joke.
And then, of course, Quark. And Quark is in this airlock doing his version of some sort of yoga maneuver, mourning, being away from his idiot brother
Rom.
And so they get him out, and then the camera pans to this blinking light, and apparently Quark is letting someone in. We don't know that yet, but sure enough, that's what happens. So this group comes in, and it turns out to be Varad, who is a
Trill.
He's a he's a Trill.
He's a Trill.
Krill are what that's what whales eat, right?
Yeah, and you can also take those pills, those krill oil pills.
That's right, yeah. So Varad, who is played by John Glover, and I swear to you, Alex, I spent 15 minutes trying to place his face.
Why didn't you just ask me?
I should have just texted you. And I was like, I recognize that guy. I've seen him before.
Right.
And then it hits me. And you can go through the list of his other accomplishments. He's a Tony Award winner. He's won a couple of Emmys. I remember him for his role in Scrooged. He played Bryce something or another. He played the young Hollywood guy who was coming into town to knock Bill Murray down a notch or two. Anyway, I couldn't get that face out of my head. But
yeah, well, you did. So, you actually did text me about that, and I was like,
did.
That's the movie you think of John Glover for? but you got back to me, and it made sense, because you're like, well, but you watch that movie every year, don't you?
Every year, yeah, that's religiously. So yeah, that's one of my holiday tradition movies, along with several others. But
I just watched Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. That's all I watch. But,
right. So anyway, so Varad is this distraught Trill who is kind of on a mission and has, he's been shortchanged. He was in the joining program, and for some reason that they don't completely specify, and I guess probably they never tell, he was taken out of the program. And so he's on DS9 with a couple of other folks who I'll mention here in a second to steal Dax from Jadzia and have it join with him. A couple of big problems there, in that they believe Jadzia will die within a few hours after unjoining. Everyone's pretty terrified. So along with Varad is Mariel, who is I gather a former prostitute. They said, I forget what they called it.
What was that? Accommodator or something like that? Something.
An accommodation house, yes.
Yeah, and that's kind of like a socialator from Battlestar Galactica. Remember that? Yeah, interesting euphemisms there, folks.
So she was played by
Megan
Gallagher. Yeah, of
who we love.
Larry Sanders fame.
By the way, everybody, when Brian and I get done with this show, we're doing the Larry Sanders show.
Yes, absolutely.
We thought about so many other shows to do if we weren't going to do DS9 or after DS9. We thought about The Odd Couple, which we still may do with Klugman and Randall, but we're going to do Larry Sanders. We are huge Gary Shandling fans. Yeah, and she was on that show and played Larry's wife in the first season. And she incidentally also shows up again on DS9 in an episode called Little Green Men, but I will be quiet now.
Okay. So Mariel is really kind of the wind beneath Varad's wings. She supports him in any way. She believes he was her savior, so she will do anything. So they've enlisted the help of 2 Klingons to take over the vessel and to execute this plan. More interesting actors just popping up is Takar, one of the Klingons, is played by Tim Russ, who you'll see in the future as, I keep calling him Tyvek. It's Tuvok.
Tuvok from the execrable Star Trek Voyager. Ugh.
From the Lost in Space series,
which by the way we won't be covering ever.
No, not at all.
Unless hey Brian, you could cover it, but I am not going to cover it.
No. Now,
not a fan.
Now I do like Jeri Ryan. I mean, she's actually my sister from another mister. We are born on the same exact day. We were both born
same day. That's crazy.
February 22nd, 1968. So we are twins.
You guys are old
astrologically.
We
are old.
And I have a history with her. I always tell you this story, but I haven't told the people out there, and we're going to go long if I tell it. But back when I was an actor, I was an extra on a movie that she was in when she was very young. I'm a little younger than you two, not much, but a little. And I was an extra and also a stand-in for a lead actor on this movie, Ambush at Waco, starring Jeri had a kind of a also starring role, and Tim Daly was playing Koresh.
That's right.
And it was shot in Tulsa. And I remember, I mean, this just will tell you, just looking on the set. And there she was just stunning. And not just because she was physically gorgeous, but she had like a presence. You know what I'm saying? I also met the great Clu Gulager, who also had a presence, but he was an old fart who I'd seen for years on late night television and movies and B movies and stuff. But I saw him on that one. But yeah, so Jeri Ryan, if you're listening, and I know you are, because hey, I mean, it's a DS9 show, so why wouldn't Jeri Ryan be listening?
Exactly.
I was the dude who played Chris Cam's stand-in on that day, and and I ate with Clu Gulager until the director said, "You don't have to eat with the extras."
And then he walked
and he was so sweet. He said, "Well, fellas, I guess I'm going to go eat over there."
That's funny.
He's a funny guy. He was in, by the way, Return of the Living Dead, the one with the 80s theme, and they're all the punk rockers. Anyway. Okay, look at me go. See?
All right,
pull me in. Reel me in.
Back on track.
Come on, that was a good anecdote. Come on.
The last actor is Yeto, played by Steve Rankin, who was in Men in Black. He was in a number of other films, and is actually known now for less of his acting roles. He's done kind of one-off roles as an actor, but in Hollywood, he's also a quite well-known fight director. And then, of course, a little-known fact, that was also the title that my first wife had. Just kidding.
I don't know if you're kidding or not.
Okay, so these four have taken over Deep Space Nine. They've put Odo. They threatened him, put him in stasis.
They put him in a little shoebox thing.
A little shoebox thing, and then put that in the stasis chamber in the
infirmary.
Julian, knowing Jadzia's most likely outcome, is planning to refuse to perform this surgery to unjoin and rejoin the.
Well, you take the symbiont out of the trill, it kills the host. It kills the trill.
Right.
You're going to kill the trill.
You're going to kill the trill.
Trill, by the way, was a movie that Tarantino was going to do. Thank you.
So they turn and shoot O'Brien in the shoulder.
O'Brien!
Just to show that they're serious. And so Julian reluctantly agrees to perform the surgery. He performs the surgery and then miraculously is able to save Jadzia, but here she is now an unjoined Trill.
Well, I don't know that he necessarily saved her. The fact that she's younger and in good health, she's going to live a little longer than most. Because as you recall from Emissary, the first episode, the flashback, I mean, when Curzon, he was an old man, And when Dax was removed from Curzon, he died right away.
Right. Yeah. I figured age had something to do with it, because they wouldn't remove a symbiont from the host if that weren't the case, typically, unless there was something else going on.
Well, like, wasn't it Joran, one of her previous hosts, who was a murderer too, and they removed? But anyway, no, I'm serious.
I believe you.
Okay,
I just don't remember that episode, so we may have not gotten there yet.
We haven't gotten there quite yet. Sorry.
There you go.
Okay. See, that's what happens when
So they unjoin, they rejoin. Apparently the surgery on Varad gives him a ton of confidence, so much confidence that he goes ahead and sheds the undergarment underneath his the undershirt under his jacket, and just goes kind of bare-chested with the low-cut thing.
I didn't even notice that.
Future scenes, I thought, oh, he must, he think he's Joe Cool now. But he does have this extra level of confidence gained from having eight lifetimes under his belt. Are you reviewing the pictures to see him before and after?
I was glancing, but no, it's just funny when he's got all this confidence. It's like he's got a new pair of dress shields or something. But no, that's a great detail that I hadn't noticed. Well, he's got the confidence, though, of being joined with Dax, and so not only has he been joined with a symbiont, but now he has all the experiences and wisdom of the previous host. So he's definitely feeling his oats, and so what you got here is you've got Dax, you got Jadzia on the table dying slowly.
Right.
You've got Odo in the lockbox, kind of like Social Security when Al Gore was around. They put him in the lockbox. George Bush can't touch him, and then he's in the infirmary. You got the rest of the gang up in ops, right? And they're being held by Tim Russ, who not only was he Tuvok, don't forget he was in Star Trek VI as a crewman, and he was also in the great episode in season 6 of TNG, Starship Mine, where Captain Picard beat him over the head with his saddle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, remember that when Picard's going to go up and get his saddle and the ship is being taken over and he's, all right, I'm going the wrong direction.
So you've seen the episode. Obviously, if you haven't, go back and watch it. It actually is, I find it pretty entertaining, but the really comes down to, at this point, Sisko and Dax's relationship, plus Sisko's ability to understand Muriel and her motives and really talk them both off the cliff. More Muriel than Dax.
What you got here too, I think, and just again, we're not telling every plot point here, but ultimately what happens to you is you've got kind of a Key Largo situation here. If you know that film, it's a film noir crime drama from the late 40s, Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall, Edward G. Robinson, and that movie takes place at a Hotel Largo in Key Largo, Florida during a storm, and then all these bad guys are put together in one place with good guys, and they're all having to figure out what's going to happen. So you've got kind of a Key Largo in space here, right? You're on the Hotel Key. The Hotel Largo is Terok Nor, Deep Space Nine, and they've got down to just the bare bones skeleton crew. And there's a a plasma discharge storm, something. Right. Yeah. Yes. They better clean that up. Anyway, going on, and they can't. So nobody can leave, and then you got these bad guys holding guns on them, and they've abducted basically Dax away from Jadzia, tucked him into the little flap on Varad. So what's interesting though is you see this, and I think every character gets some time to shine in this episode. It's interesting. We get a little preview of the misery that awaits O'Brien through the next 6 years of the show. He gets shot in the shoulder and suffers. That looked very painful. Burned his uniform, burned his skin. Excuse me. Bashir gets to be heroic, but he gets to be a doctor, and it's sweet. Kira, who kind of hogged the first 3 episodes of the season, and I don't mean that unkindly. She's there in a good supporting role. Quark is a complete little shit who has there's a hole there, and we'll get to that in a little bit. I want to get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
There's a hole in the plot there.
As well.
Good. Okay. So we've got that, but we've got Kira doing her thing. We got Cisco doing some really interesting things. So what I had some notes on here though is that Cisco, at first, I love it in the beginning. Cisco is like not going to be all calm. He kicks that Klingon. He kicks some Klingon ass in the beginning. I mean, he's not a small man. By the way, see, that's what I always wanted to see when I've talked about this in season 1 of our show about season 1 of DS9. Is like when they brought in the actor who played Hawk.
Right.
When they brought him in here, I was like, he's a badass. But then, he plays him very contained. And I've said this all the time. It's like when he loses the hair on top and grows it on his face, that's when he becomes a complete transformation into a complete badass. But you see some of that physically here when he kicks the Klingon ass. And then after the symbiont, the bad burrito gets moved between Jadzia and Varad.
I like how they squeeze it a little bit. It was like a dog toy, chew toy. Anyway, continue.
I'm putting a pin in the Cisco comment just to say, what's with the shears that Bashir used to cut the cord there with this? I half expected a garden weasel to come out in a minute. I mean, what the hell was that? Did you see that? That thing they used? That was
poorly done, I think, from I don't know if that would have been props or makeup, but a little bit of both.
I don't know if this is a problem for hair, makeup, or wardrobe.
Sorry, that's an inside joke. We'll get to it.
I think we may have told that joke, but we'll tell it again someday. Yeah, why didn't they just use a laser scalpel? And by the way, later when Quark says to Bashir, hand me that laser scalpel, why don't they just say scalpel? I would assume in the 23rd century, all the scalpels basically are
lasers.
That would be like saying, hand me that phaser gun. Hand me that phaser weapon, please. It'd be like me saying to you in just day and time, hand me that Glock handgun, please.
Yes.
You don't
hand me the cellular telephone communication device.
Right. And hand me that spoon and fork, also known as okay, I'm stopping. So you get this, and so what I'm saying is, so you've got all this going on, and then we've got Cisco, though. He switches immediately, though. He's with his fists. He's going to fight them off. They lose. They can't fight them off. Tyvek and the crew, they're just kicking their butts. Then, though, you watch Cisco begins his psyops, his mind games with Varad and Muriel in particular, but also with Takar. Those are the three he interacted with the most. But you could see his psyops game was really, really good.
Yeah, it was very strong. I agree, 100%. That was one of the things that I really admired, was his ability to manipulate that situation to help either turn people against each other or to use their whatever it was to his advantage. And so and it turned out to be Muriel's love for Varad that helped turn the tables, really.
But what he did is he found her vulnerability, which was, to me, it was kind of like this. It was kind of like if you're insecure in a relationship, like say you're dating this really wonderful woman and she's up for like a really high powered job that's going to pay a lot of money and kind of vault her into like the next level of her career, and you're not on that level. You want her to get it, and that's because you want her to be happy because you love her. But then when she gets it, if you're insecure even a little bit, you feel very endangered and you're wondering how long she'll stick with you. And so he sees that with Muriel and Varad, and he starts picking at that scab, and it works. It works.
It was great. And I think in terms of the drama of the episode, it was solid. It was well played, well acted. Which was nice. Yeah.
So I think that what I really saw besides seeing that element of Cisco, is that we saw the added dimension to the Trills and the Symbionts and Dax. Okay, you got to see Dax. You got to see Jadzia, that is, as Jadzia. There was no Jadzia Dax. She was Jadzia. She was this 28-year-old woman who felt so terribly alone without her implant and was scared. And You got to learn about trills and symbionts quite a bit. You got to see John Glover really do a nice job of taking this somewhat broken Varad and then see what happens when he gets this literal injection of this bad burrito, and it turns him into this confident dude who's got all this going on. And
he's still broken. Though.
He's still broken because the thing he doesn't recognize and doesn't understand, the reason you never got a symbiont of your own is because you're broken. And now we've got a brilliant symbiont who is stuck in you. And of course, that symbiont is like, oh my God, Benjamin, my friend. And he's like, oh my gosh, I remember all these memories and all these things. But Ben realizes very quickly that this is still not going to work. And, it does end up with him saying, don't call me Benjamin.
Yeah.
But the thing that it leaves, even though it ends with, obviously, Dax getting taken out of Varad and put back into Jadzia. Did I miss something, or is Varad going to survive this?
He looked like he was, but who knows? And maybe I don't know. Just I guess it kind of left that open, but the way they had him and Mariel, it was as if he's gonna make it.
But he's going to be even more broken, and he feels so terribly lonesome. And
correct.
And now, though, what does Jadzia have as we go forward? You're going to see many more episodes where you learn more about the symbionts and the trills and about Dax. She's got this hitchhiker in her consciousness now for the end of time.
Right.
I mean, Varad's going to be part of her. She knows all about him now, and it's kind of sad, all of it, all the way around. It's a poignant thing. So I found that. I found that to be good, and I thought the way they ended it was really good. And so, I think the primary points that worked in the show's favor were Sisko got to be both tough and cerebral. You got to see a good side of Julian. Odo got sidelined, unfortunately, but I understand why, because he's too strong a presence. There's no, unless they outright phaser him out of existence, they can't beat Odo.
Right.
So they sideline Odo, basically, and O'Brien gets sidelined, basically. Kira gets sidelined, and it's really an episode about, more than anybody, it's about Sisko and Bashir and Dax. So I think it was good there. I was entertained, and I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to tell you how much Latinum I will give this episode.
Sure.
Folks, we give every episode anywhere from 1 to 5 bars of Latinum. You can cheat a little like I do and get into bars and strips, but basically it's 1 to 5 bars. I'm going to give Invasive Procedures a solid 3 bars of gold press Latinum.
In that same range, 3, maybe 3 and a strip. Here's one thing that I really liked is I related to Varad on a couple of levels. Just when you come close to something and you don't quite get there, that feeling, I've had that in a couple of times, and just one humorous one, and it just is in high school. I was runner up for most likely to succeed. So I've spent my life saying, okay, will I be really, really successful, but not quite as successful as the most successful guy? Or will I get really close to succeeding but never succeed? And so that has haunted me. And so I could relate to how someone could be so close to something that they really were longing for, really striving for, but not quite getting there. And in his case, he turned to illicit activity in order to get what he wanted. But so I found that dynamic interesting. And even though, like you said, even though John Glover was only in this one episode, it was this character only one time appearing, I think he really captured that with no history, no previous episodes to lean on, and knowing that there's no future that he could use to further define it. I thought he nailed it pretty well. Just this, a lonely, disappointed person who missed something that they thought that they should have gotten.
Well, first of all, that's very well said. And I'm thinking of that song. This could have been mine. You know, the old standard. And by the way, you are very successful in all in all
Thank you.
all forms of life. I don't even know who got most likely to succeed in your high school.
I do.
Is that person more successful than you?
Yes.
In what way? Financially or something?
Financially and just through overall popularity. He's a country singer.
Oh gosh. Well, okay, so folks, I won't say who it is either. I know who it is. I've met the guy. He's a great guy, and he is
a great guy, and I
Western recording artist.
Yeah. So I harbor no ill will. It's just that seemed like that moment was
Hey, I get it.
Was a telling moment.
Dude, I've lost elections. I mean, and none of them super close, but close enough for a couple of them. And but I hope he'll find what I've found, which is, and it's not complete rationalization either. I hope he'll find the true success in the love he has with Muriel, the way I have with my family, the way you have with your family, incidentally.
Right, absolutely.
And of course, it sounds trite, but it's not. It's really true. There's a reason why it sticks around, and it's around year after year. The very thesis of It's a Wonderful Life, which no man is a failure who has friends. And you have a lot of friends, my friend.
I do. You do.
But I get
the ones I have I'm very close with. So
there you go.
I am blessed.
Yeah. I mean, I hope to someday make the cut and be one of those friends. All right. I'm joking. All right. But you use that anecdote very well to illustrate this. So I appreciate that. And I thought you were very eloquent in what you were saying. And I think you're totally right about Glover just being brilliant enough to pull that off. So we were looking at solid threes.
Yeah,
three range.
Yeah, 3+.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you're disagreeing with us on this one, guess what you can do? Go to the show. Go to the Audio Hoo-Mons Facebook page, and under the link where we posted the show, let us know what you think. How many bars of Latinum would you give Invasive Procedures? We want to know. We want to hear.
So we mentioned briefly, you really have to suspend and just assume there's something happens to Quark, because he does this, he endangers everyone, and other than getting his ear hurt, there's
which he faked.
Really no ramifications. If I were Sisko, he would have been off Deep Space Nine.
Well, if you're Kira, because that's what Kira basically said, I'm done with you. And you're totally right. See, I don't know why they needed the device of Quark setting this thing up. I mean, all they had to do was fake a distress signal. It wasn't like O'Brien and Odo showed up with guns drawn. They helped him in, and that's it. I don't know why they had to do this with Quark, because Armin Shimerman, if you can read up on this, he said his allowing the takeover of the station is very close to treason, and although he helps rescue them at the end, he still initiated that takeover. I worry when Quark doesn't get punished for what really sizable crimes. It makes the character less important, since his acts trigger no consequence, and it makes Odo look a little foolish in that he's the lawkeeper and he can't keep this little troll punished. That was Armin Shimerman who played Quark. That's what he said, and I totally agree with him.
Yeah, I do. So you have to walk away, and I'm assuming that that never comes up again.
Kira was not a fan of his for a long time. You will see. I mean, she really is very suspicious of him, but yeah, he seemed to suffer no real consequences. You're totally right. Yeah. Sorry, I stepped on that. And if you have other notes, let's get. I'm sorry.
No, that was the big one. I just wanted to bring that up. I mentioned the lost T-shirt of surgery.
Right.
Jadzia's. I don't know how in the hell she kept that blue thing on when she would sit up. How she kept the
the sheet
the sheet on, and I have no idea why they did the same thing for Farad. They put the sheet on over his nipples as well, which didn't make a lot of sense.
Equal opportunity nippling.
Yeah, I guess. But other than that, that's my notes.
Wait, any Deep Sex 9 on this one?
No, not really.
There was no sensuality, no sexuality, nothing.
No. I mean, I think there was between Muriel's love of Varad, I think, was evident, but I didn't see it it wasn't in a sexual way. I think she just truly cared for him and thought that he was kind of her savior. She was dedicated to him. So
yeah.
And
you? I think I agree, and I think thank you, Mike Finney, for the suggestion. Deep shit 9 on this one. I think Quark's the one in deep shit. We already kind of covered that, but
yeah, he should be.
He should be,
but he'll get away with it. I think. I think O'Brien was in a bit of deep shit when he took a phaser blast to the shoulder.
Well, but it was all made better because Muriel gave him like some Cenarian egg broth, and
oh, that's right.
I think that's part of the Yito diet, the Klingon diet. Anyway, all right.
Yes.
So just to wrap this up, we got to go. We're running a little bit long. Don't forget, we appreciate your contributions. More contributions have come in, which helps us do a couple of things. One, it helps us boost posts on Facebook to get more listeners. It also helps us pay the bills to keep the show archived. It also pays the bills for hosting fees, all these things. There's a link in the show notes. Please give $1, $2, $10, $15, $500, whatever. Tell you what, you give $500, we'll rename the show after you. At least for an episode. Okay, this has been fun. This has been Invasive Procedures. Next week, episode 5 of the season, Cardassians. This episode revolves around Cardassian sneakiness and a mysterious orphan. It's a Garrick-heavy episode, which is great. Plain, simple Garrick is back with more fashion, more fun, and jazz hands. Until next Thursday, I'm Alex.
And I'm Brian. The docking ring
is closed.